Oleksandr Usyk versus Tyson Fury is finally happening. Been pushed back to February because Fury had a little mishap along the way. And generally, how are we feeling about it? Like, in reflection now, we were all there watching the Ngannou moment. It was fucking insane. We went pretty viral on that. But now the dust has settled, what are we thinking about this matchup coming into it?
Going off Fury's performance there, I already thought Fury was slightly on the slide in his career, whether it was physically or in terms of lack of motivation. You know, we've seen him in on the Netflix documentary. I think he's starting to get he's getting used to the money and the nicer way of life. You know, them silk pajamas are starting to kick it now. I just don't know if he's got that motivation to win. And someone like Usyk, who's like a extremely skillful fighter, extremely quick, even using the Otto Wallen fight, it's people who are quite quick that kind of troubled Fury. And I just think at this point in his career, I'm uncertain with Fury where he's actually at.
See, I would have said that. I've been saying this for a while on the pod, I've suspected that Fury's legs have been, they're not the same for a while. Only on the basis you're 270 pounds, you're coming forward, all of a sudden you found power. There's gonna be a trade-off somewhere. So for me, when you see him, like how he moved against Dillian Whyte, I'm like, the footwork wasn't the same. Like, I feel like herky-jerky Fury is gone for good. Because otherwise he would have tapped into that and just danced around Ngannou very easily. Whereas now I'm looking at Fury, I'm thinking, no, you've changed. You've lost something in exchange for this power and this new style.
But the only problem that I have with that is, had there been no Ngannou fight, I'd be in agreement with the table. But the one thing is, the Gypsy King is a prideful man. You know what I mean? And that was a horrible night. They dipped. I've never seen a team leave an arena
after a win
like that so quick in my life. It was a horrible night. But then
Big John and Tommy getting
Tommy, they was in the car. They was licking it. But then
they looked like they robbed a bank.
It was incredible. But then in that moment, it said something. They said, "Look, well, it's that fine. You need that sometimes as a fighter. That thing of, I could lose all of this. It takes one loss for everyone to change the way they look at me. So now I believe that he's going to be so locked in for this fight. We'll get the best version of Fury that we've seen in a long time, because he's not been challenged. But Dillian was not challenged. Chisora definitely not. We thought Ngannou was going to be a cakewalk. This one, he knows what time it is.
What about his brother? The big lad with the curly hair. Shane. Shane did an interview where he said this is kind of stereotypical Tyson of one step backwards and then he'll 3 steps forwards. Like, he'll have this scare, and you're basically the expert on Fury here. You studied him. What do you make of it? Do you expect like one of those moments where we go, all right, he's had his scare, back to his best?
If we look at the form books, it would suggest that that's going to happen. And that's what, obviously, look, I'm a fan of Fury. I hope that happens. Father Time's undefeated, and we know that time can catch up on anyone. And that's the thing that you would counter that to. But if I look back, and there's been stages earlier on in his career, but obviously, look, he got the stoppage in the end against Steve Cunningham, but he got dropped and to a lot of people got exposed against Steve Cunningham. What happens then? He goes on a really, really good run. Joey Abel, he is what he is, but Derek Chisora, and then goes on to fight Christian Hammer, European title at the time, and then Klitschko, right? He goes on a really good run after that, so he levels up a little bit, right? He's out the ring, whatever. When he comes back, he doesn't look good, really, against Sefer Safiri. And Pianetta, he looks a bit better because he shifted a bit more weight and he's back in the ring again. But again, he didn't look class in that. Wilder puts in a career best performance. Then he goes off, he does his American Roadshow. He fights, what's the guy? Schwartz. Schwartz, he looked good in that, to be fair. But then he looks awful against Otto Wallin. And then the questions that we're talking about now, all right, we've got the context now. But at that time, I remember sitting with a lot of my friends and they were going, I think getting dropped twice by Wilder's took it out of him. I think he's done now. His legs looked a lot slower against Otto Wallin. He goes in and puts in the career best performance, I would say, in the Wilder 2 rematch straight off the back of that Wallin one. So then when I look at it, I'm like, do you know what? You're exactly bang on there. Fury's career would suggest that he has this fight that maybe perks him up a little bit, wakes him up, makes him realise. And also, do you remember when Fury always thrived was when he had people against him?
That's right.
And I think that having the people against you can go one or two ways. We're looking at Anthony Joshua, and my perception is it's not going very well for him having people against him mentally. Yeah. Maybe for Fury, he don't want arse lickers. Maybe, and I know you'll counter that by saying he surrounds himself with them, but maybe he don't want the public to think, it's a one-horse race, Fury's going to win this easy. Maybe now he's training that little bit extra bit harder. He's doing that little bit more that he needs to because he's thinking, now there's a fight on.
I think in terms of what he wants and what he needs are two different things. I think you're onto the right thing, though, is like Fury being hated is the biggest motivator for him and probably the best thing for him as an athlete. But I think the mistake he's made, and I can't remember who was touched on it there, of transforming himself into a different style of fighter for Wilder.
That's right.
He took on what was the most feared boxer we've seen since Mike Tyson, arguably, and he changed his body composition, his style, and he had a bespoke plan that was built for Wilder, and it worked amazingly. And he thought, well, this must work for everyone then. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick with this. And actually, it's a bit easier than fucking cutting weight down and being, doing all the running. And I actually quite like me fish and chips. So this is who I am. And I'm just going to be a knockout artist. But this is the thing, is like, against a very limited boxer, although a very powerful one, that's fine. But against some of these more well-rounded guys, which he hasn't come up against, ironically, until Francis Ngannou, who was actually quite well-rounded on the night, even though it was very basic, it was effective. It was a problem, and I think that he right now is at almost a standing start to get ready for Usyk. The fight that we've seen for Ngannou, although he'd done a 12-week training camp, looked like he was completely out of shape. And for me, he now has a race to go. I need to shift some fucking weight and I need to get my legs back.
That's right.
But the problem that he has is Ngannou was like, and it's mad to say this, but Ngannou was all wrong for him. And when you say that, it's the fighter that Fury has become now is a bully on the inside.
Absolutely.
Leans on you, does all this stuff. Ngannou's had this UFC training where when he was trying to move him, he couldn't move him. It was an immovable object, Ngannou. Now, most of the people that he fights, he can do the dark cuts and it'll work. With Ngannou, it was just not going to happen. But the only issue that you have with this Usyk fight is, when are you really going to tie up Usyk? Like, he's going to be hard to get to.
So then Usyk's a similar problem as Ngannou, but in different ways. They're both super athletes. Like, Ngannou is the best athlete, arguably, in UFC history in terms of speed, power, the strength, everything. Usyk is one of the best athletes in heavyweight boxing history, in my opinion. Have we ever seen a heavyweight with an engine who can be throwing that many punches in the 12th round as the first round? It's unheard of. Incredible. So it's a very similar problem of, like, how do you break that?
But he could, the one thing that I think we finally saw a chink in Usyk's armor, and that was the shots to the body that Dubois was throwing. Now, if I'm Sugar Hill and that team, I'm saying this is it.
No, it's not though. It's not.
I have to say it though. I'm going to look for it. When I'm in training, I'm the people that they brought in Opataya in there. I'm saying if now Opataya is going to be a part of their I'm saying see if he can get to the body, because he's going to be Opataya is going to be probably more elusive than Usyk. He probably
he doesn't fight like Usyk. He's a bit more heavy-handed. His style is slightly different. He's got a good pedigree, kind of like Usyk, and he's southpaw, and that's probably the closest you kind of draw the comparisons. But you got to remember, you still got to lean into your fighter's strengths. Tyson Fury 6'8", right? And he does not go to the body. Him going to the body at this stage against a shorter, much faster opponent is going to be bad advice. Like, I understand that, you look at that and say, oh yeah, that's how you beat Usyk. No, it's not. The way you beat Usyk will still be a very different way because of who you are. You're just going to have to be at your best of your game. And the fact is, now we're looking at Fury and he is on the decline. Like, the legs are not the same. Everything is different now. You're going to rely on these bully boy tactics, and
his hands are slowing down as well. Even they, like, the reason Ngannou caught him is because he didn't get his hand back quick enough. It was lazy and slow.
I think it's a difficult one because you were touched on this at the last show. I mentioned about Fury, when he, in the second fight, it was like the best of his previous style with a new style. And the third fight, you could see he was a little bit more adapted to the Kronk style, and he wasn't quite as dominant as the second fight for me.
He wasn't as
mobile. And I think, like you say, he's kind of coming to this new style where this isn't really the most effective style for Fury, and he needs to kind of go a little bit back into his previous style and get that perfect balance of the two styles. And then with regards to Usyk, I think...
Do you think Usyk's slowing down, by the way? Because a lot of people have said that from the Dubois fight, didn't throw as many punches, didn't quite look as aggressive or as fast.
I think he's another guy a bit like Fury. He rises to the occasion when the challenge is bigger. And I think, but what I would say, when he fought Joshua the second time, the few chinks in the armor were when Joshua did put the pressure on, he did look a little bit more tired in the... I think it was the last round where he stepped it up again, but like there was I can't remember, it was like the 7-8. He slowed down a little bit and he had to take a breather, and Joshua kind of of come on a little bit strong, and then he found his second win, and he knew he only had a couple of rounds left, and he stepped it up. But I do think now, with having Fury in front of him, if he is able to use, like you said, leading on his strengths, his size, if he puts that weight on him, he will tire Usyk. And I think if we can get Fury at his best, them marrying them two styles up and using his weight, I think Fury can beat him. But again, we've got two fighters who potentially could be slightly on the slide, I think.
I felt like with Usyk and Dubois, just to speak to him being on the slide, I think he went to knock out Dubois. I think most people when they go into a fight with Dubois is like, stick it on him because he'll fold.
He did that.
Yeah, and I think he went in there as like, right, because he stayed in the pocket, like he didn't even move, like he was right there, throwing heavy, sitting down in his shots. The body shot that the low blow, that threw off the plan for a little bit, and after a while he's like, okay, cool, now I'm going to do it, because he knows this is how you beat Dubois. So I don't think he's going to be anything like that for Fury.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I was watching it back. I was like, you're really in the pocket, and with Fury, obviously he's just going to get a hold of you, lean on you. He's going to have to be on his bike big time.
It's difficult. I mean, even touching on Dubois, I know it's a different topic, but I think Dubois being another guy who's a victim of his own power. He was such a young, naive guy who was knocking everyone out, probably not getting fights that were going to build him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he come across Joe Joyce, the unmovable, the guy's so big and strong, and everything he didn't really develop a defense. He's used to guys just falling over, and all of a sudden you've got a guy like Joe Joyce who hits back, and he come unstuck, and like we're seeing in fights after that, he's kind of giving up. When Usyk put it on him, he kind of falls, doesn't he? But I do think with regards to them body shots, and I know we're saying Fury isn't a guy who can throw body shots. I mean, I think that's a bit of a strong statement, because I think he's a pretty round fighter and he could do it. I just think in the past he hasn't really needed to use body shots.
He did a little bit with Wilder, but Wilder 6'6", easier to land that.
When you see Fury
that shorter guy who's
shots,
moving,
it's always when someone's quite stationary.
Yeah,
you don't really see him against the mover doing it. But I would say, when we say about can Fury change his style or convert back to his old style, he's already done that.
This is what I'm saying.
He's already converted back to his old style, because if you watch Fury before the Steve Cunningham fight, every now and again, a little bit of herky-jerky. Literally, Martin Rogan, Lee Swarby, like there's so many fighters in that sort of British title run of Fury where he was a bully.
Yeah,
he leant all over people.
But it's a problem because it's such a long time ago, and he's had we never expected Fury knockouts. When Fury told us he's going to knock out Wilder, we thought it was funny. You know what I mean? But then now he's like, I've got this power. This feels good. And as you're saying, that feeling of not like I don't need to train, but I can be this version of my body and turn up on fight night and shut it down. It's asking him, can you go for that extra run? Can you put in those extra hours for this man? And we've seen his dad saying he's not in the right state of mind. His dad's been almost sending a message to his son through media saying him signing a contract that I know he's got the wrong people around him.
Can we talk about the state of mind then? Because the press conference was interesting. They were completely different as expected. Yeah. What do we make of that one?
I liked it. In terms of being someone that is open, that they want Fury to win this fight, I liked it. I liked seeing him like that in the press conference, because I think back to Fury's best performances. You look how he was with Klitschko, yeah? You look how he was in the Wilder press conferences. You look how he was Steve Cunningham press conference. When Fury had that spite in him. Now, the key difference is this, right?
Compare that to the Ngannou one where he was building him up and saying, he's a great fighter.
But you know what? Even all of them, like when, for example, we got the press conference between Dylan White and Tyson Fury, I thought, this is going to be good, because Dylan White don't take no shit, and Tyson Fury, so cordial, polite to each other.
Because they knew what was going to happen.
They danced together.
I really didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. So it's been quite a while now. You have to go back to probably the second Wilder fight even, since we've seen Fury with that sort of fire and spite in a press conference. Now, the only thing I would say is always when we've seen Fury do it, he's had a dance partner. They've given it back. And Usyk did the clever thing he does, right? I'm not denying that, Usyk's native tongue isn't English. But when Usyk doesn't want to engage, he does the...
Don't understand you.
Explain it. He knows exactly what you just said. Do you know what I mean? Because there's certain times when Usyk speaks really fluently to other people and whatnot. When he doesn't want to engage, he'll sort of say, I don't understand it. But it's a perfect tactic from Usyk. So I think that it literally, even in the mental games, it's chess match after chess match after chess match.
Usyk did well in the way he would be like, are you done? Are you done?
Yeah.
It was very dismissive, like nothing you're doing is bothering me.
Patronising.
Yeah, it was very patronising, and I think that Usyk, considering English isn't his first language, did really well in that scenario.
But I think winding Fury up
to clap at him after he'd finished talking, nothing is going to get under Fury's skin more than that. But I agree with you. Like, if you're seeing Fury stick on him, and to me, it showed Fury acknowledges him as a real threat. This is a real dangerous fight,
100%.
and I want to get every little advantage I can because I know I've got to be scared. I know I've got to be worried.
And that's why I like seeing it. But I do think, no doubt, he wound Fury up there. But again, if we take away the element of time beats everyone, if we just look at Fury's career and go, show me an example of when someone wounding him up worked well for him. Now you can say, but he beat all his opponents. Just show me an example in the fight of someone winding him up working well for him. Because we look at the fights against like Otto Wallin, for example. Otto Wallin weren't winding him up in press conferences. He was happy to be there. Like, you look at loads of the fights.
The only thing though, the pushback is you got one guy that's been saying Undisputed for the longest time, and he's focused. He's locked in. He says that he actually believes. This is someone that's fighting Fury that believes he's going to be raised, his hand will be raised as champion.
But that's why it's good. That's why it's good, because we can all agree, Undisputed means so much more to Usyk than it does to Fury. Yes. So if there was no other narrative here, if Usyk hadn't wound Fury up and Fury didn't feel like now he needed to prove people wrong, the Undisputed thing is just like, I've had my fights, I've made my money, he's not even that bothered about that, and Usyk wouldn't, then he would edge it. But the fact that he's now got a personal thing of like, you fucking think you beat me? And the British public are now doubting me. That is going to go in his favour, I think.
Can we try and imagine Fury's best road to victory? What is the method of victory we see for Fury? And then we'll do Usyk.
That Usyk can't manage the weight in the bullion. That's the only way. Usyk cannot handle he cannot get Fury off him. I think that's the only way this wins, because if this becomes like a fencing match, Usyk is going to dance around him and just do what he wants to do. But if Fury manages to intimidate him, puts us and hurt him early, really hurt him, then it's like, mate, he's just too small.
I agree with that, but the way I envision this fight going in my head isn't like that. I actually think that Fury comes out and goes, come on then, Mr. Boxer, let's have a boxing match. And I think he does it for 4 rounds or so, and then he goes, fuck this, and starts walking him down. And that's the way that because I think at that point, I'm not saying Usyk's schooling him at that point, but it's too close for comfort at that point. Then he starts walking him down, and I think Usyk gets a lot of praise, and Fury probably stops him late.
But wait though, we saw Ngannou. We saw how he looked against Ngannou, and Ngannou was switching, switching to southpaw and stuff. This is a better boxer. Usyk is a better boxer. Usyk, in terms of
talking about the way that
how it looked.
But can I just make a point about that Ngannou thing, right? This is the thing. I've sparred many MMA guys.
Yeah.
In the end, you'll always get the better of an MMA guy. And one thing I would say is that against Ngannou, there's a little bit of a misconception, I think, where we let the atmosphere and the event sort of override what we're actually watching at times. A little bit of a misconception. Ngannou was hurting Fury, and Ngannou was dominating Fury in the clinch and stuff like that. He was never outboxing Fury, in my opinion. And when I
don't know. That's the point I'm making. I'm saying that
when I look at it like this, right? MMA guys, whenever I've sparred them, they do always land shots on you, Yeah. And I did say before the stream, you remember this, I said before the stream, Fury probably won't look that good tonight, and he will have shots landed on him, but he'll come through it. Now, did I ever think it'd be as close as it would? No. But I would say, when I've sparred MMA guys and they land shots on me, it's a bit like, oh yeah, you landed on me there. I'm sparring at 140 pounds.
Yeah.
So when you're up at 200 plus pounds, like these heavyweights are, all of a sudden it's like, well, not only do these MMA guys land shots on you, you're in a weight division where anyone can drop anyone.
The round that would worry me the most if I'm a Fury guy is round 8, where Ngannou really put it on him at times. And when you say outboxing, outlanding. He was absolutely outlanding in terms of the more... if you look at that whole fight, there was only two rounds where you were really like, oh, fuck me, something might go here. And it was always Fury who looked like the one in trouble. As much as Fury might have outlanded him overall, I never thought Francis Ngannou looked in remote trouble.
He was not hurt at any point.
But obviously Usyk's a much smaller man. Can he take the level? Ngannou just brushed those shots off like they were nothing. Usyk he's not the same size, but if in round 8 you're struggling with Francis Ngannou, if it does go that long, that's Usyk's money rounds, man. That's where he's piling them in the bank.
And I will admit, like I'm saying that, I'll openly admit, if the Fury turns up against Usyk that we saw in the ring against Ngannou, then Usyk wins. I understand that, but I am very much banking on the fact that I look at Fury's career, I've followed it closely, and I do know exactly like Shane Fury was saying in the interview, it is sometimes one step back, 4 or 5 steps forward all of a sudden.
But what Shane also said in that interview was, we also have to be aware that this could just be Fury now. And that's the thing where it's like trends and patterns only last for so long, because like Father Time you mentioned earlier, Father Time could be coming. And
you heard what John said?
Go on.
Big John about I think he might be in decline.
Oh,
even Big John. Now I do wonder
get his son.
He's
trying to get his son out.
If Big John's in his head going, I mean, he might be selling the fight, but I don't know. I think Big John is actually trying to get a reaction out of his son.
He did immediately say he needs me to train him after that as well.
That's what he does. No, but every time
10%.
He always, with his son, he always sends the right message at the right time. There's always through the media, because again, I'll say Fury's world has changed, and the people that he has around him. And Dad's biggest gripe is, you've got too many yes men around you. I can only get this message to you when I'm saying, I think this guy can win. That's dangerous, because his son will hear this, because his son said, my dad never doubts me. He always talks about me at this high level. Him saying that to me, okay, I need to lock in.
He had a squad of 30 guys with him in Saudi, apparently.
There is a little level of hypocrisy there, though, with what you're saying from John's side, because in my opinion, and don't shoot a messenger, this is just my opinion, John actually drove away the best person that Tyson ever had round him in Peter Fury.
Yeah.
But then that relationship, the relationship with Peter and John, I think that's a family. That's more of a family.
Cool. Yeah, it's none of my business. So I'm just saying that was the best person.
That was an important relationship. But I'm saying that sometimes it's like, I still want what I want. It's like how you get what with Eubank Senior, like what he's doing at the moment. He wants to be in the picture, can't be in the picture. Here's this new nephew. You know what I mean? Like, so you'll do things just for selfish reasons.
Another thing, just to add what Shane said, like, you could also take this another way, because Shane is also like, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, but when I was running the camp, I was making sure that it was only a certain amount of people that were in, and and we saw his career best performances, and now it's a bit different. So you could also look at it and be like, okay, now you're framing yourself to be super important.
Everyone.
Going back to the question, Fury, how does he win? You're saying he finishes Usyk late in a that's what you're thinking is the likely one. Loza, what do you say? If Fury is to win,
I think it'll be more late on. And I know, just to kind of go on to what we're just previously talking, this is the difficult thing about boxing. You're only as good as your previous performance. And I think we're all currently judging Fury right now off his performance with Ngannou. And like you say, was it because he's an MMA guy? Was it because he is actually aging? Was it because he wasn't up for the fight? I think
he didn't look good against Chisora or Dillian White either. But with that, he made a mountain of a molehill with Chisora. But I do think there was, you seen the way he was talking, he was as if he was doing these guys a favour, giving them an opportunity. Yeah. I think Fury does need to get up for these big fights, and them guys weren't doing it for me. You could dispose of them at any time you wanted. But going to Usyk, I think, this guy can be outboxed. If you look at him against Tony Bellew, early on in that fight, he was getting outboxed. So I think what I'm getting at here is what I am. You disagree?
Listen.
If you disagree,
listen.
I want to say Tony Bellew did the best against Usyk that we've ever seen.
Yeah. Tony Bellew is a good fighter. He's got a lot of he studies all the old guys. He's a lot better fighter. He's known for being, the bomber.
He was slick as fuck, mate.
Tony Bellew told him, I couldn't beat him. Tony Bellew, he argued with Tony Bellew. He said, Tony, you could have had him. Tony's telling him, I was in the ring. No, I couldn't.
If Tony was younger with that game plan and that performance, he doesn't fade.
There's a difference of him saying he couldn't beat him and he wasn't actually outbeating him in the first 6 rounds, because what Tony Bellew admitted is the pressure that he put on us, I wasn't basically able to maintain it. So yes, you can. It's like an amateur fighting sparring with a pro. Sometimes you can get outboxed for the first 3 rounds, but over 12 rounds, that's a different story.
That's exactly what happened.
But Bellew was outboxing him in them first 6 rounds, and he had the skill.
How was he doing it? He was doing it with movement.
Movement, slickness.
He was too quick for him.
The simple fact is, despite the fact he was getting beat, Usyk was getting beat at that point, the pressure he was putting on him, it was starting to wear Tony Bellew down, and that's what that's what he admits. It was money in the bank. The guy was mentally breaking him down, not physically, mentally breaking him down.
You see Bellew on the stool,
and he was exhausted between rounds.
Dave Caldwell was like, trying to hype him up, and you could see him fucking drain.
So this is the difference. So the difficult thing about boxing, we can only judge off the last performance, and we've got styles make fights. But I do think because of this Ngannou fight, we're all looking at Fury automatically, me included, thinking he's definitely on the decline. But I do think he rises to the occasion, and I just do think that he's capable of outboxing him, because I think he's a far superior boxer than we're giving him credit for. He's not just a big guy that needs to use his weight to beat this guy. I think, yes, it's definitely a tool that he needs to use and adopt, but I do think he has got the boxing ability to beat him as well.
So I know this is silly, and bear with me with this analogy, but we've all played like these football games and stuff, and you're playing someone on a fever or whatever, and you're like, at the end of the match, you're like, how did you beat me? I felt like I had you. I felt like I was, but you just always win. And what is happening in this situation is there's a lot of people in there saying, well, how does this guy keep doing it? Bellew finished after the fight. Even all of us here saying, well, how did he do it? The guy is skilled. He has this thing where it looks like we're on the same level. We are not. And they literally, everyone that he's gone in there with, they said it about Chisora. Chisora's best performance was against Usyk out of everyone that's fought Usyk. No, end of the day, he still won. And even if he's winning marginally, he is still winning. Yeah. That's the point.
I did once think that about Lomachenko, though. Yeah. And the day that, I probably weren't conscious, but like Roy Jones, probably my favourite fighter of all time, right? A lot of people say like the day Roy Jones got beat is the day you realise, right, no fighter,
anybody can go
invincible. Okay. But for me, that little moment, and I get he was older, probably in his 30s, but when Lomachenko got beat, I was like, wow. Like, actually anyone can get beat sort of thing.
Teofimo did
it. So then, I'm not comparing, saying they're exactly the same, but I would say like that thing of he just always finds a way to win. I have seen it with my own two eyes. Sometimes the fighter doesn't find a way to win.
That's true.
Just going back to Tony Bellew for a second, I think there's a couple of factors with that as well to consider. I think Tony Bellew was coming towards the end of his career as well. So I think age definitely plays a part. And second of all, another thing, he went up in weight to fight David Haye. And you hear this as the same thing which happened with the Roy Jones. He went up to heavyweight. And it's a quite a well documented thing. A lot of time when fighters move up in weight and try to come back down, the body just doesn't adapt well to it.
Right.
It's just one of those things, and it's happened across the board with a lot of different fighters.
Look at Eubank against Liam Smith getting knocked out like that.
Yeah, and it does something to your punch resistance. So this could have been a factor. It happened with Roy Jones, and he was arguably one of the greatest fighters, to walk the earth, you know what I mean? So it happened to him. All of a sudden, his punch resistance went. He started getting stopped all the time. And with Tony Bellew, it probably more affected his punch resistance more than anything.
Drop weight for this though, because when you look at who needs to make more adjustments, it's not even close. Like for me, Usyk's recent performances have been basically flawless outside of what was arguably a low blow, and we've never seen Usyk put down like that. We've never seen him even in real trouble. By comparison to Tyson Fury, who we've seen have moments where we're like, you're in fucking deep shit. Even against Otto Wallen, you had to really pull it out.
Right. Yeah.
So if we're looking at like who needs to overperform more and who do we need to have the better night, it's Fury. Fury needs to absolutely.
Fury needs to pull something out of the bag, and Usyk needs to be able to do to Fury what he's been able to do against other heavyweights so far.
Like we're saying, we're talking about winning mentality. Like Usyk is just he's never been beaten in so long. He's never been hurt. Like I know he's been hit with a body shot, but he's rarely looked close to defeat in a long time. Whereas Fury's had, he's had quite a few close calls throughout his career, and then coupled with inactivity, coupled with depression, which has led to time out the ring, gaining in weight. And when we're talking just there about gaining weight and having to lose
against Ngannou, his body looked one of the worst I've seen it.
You see this look at Ricky Hatton, as another guy went up and down in weight, and you kind of can only do this to your body so many times. You've got someone like Usyk he's a typical proper pro who's always disciplined. He's stayed active since his amateur days. He's always been consistent with training, everything. You know what I mean? This guy really, really mentally does not know how to lose. He doesn't know how to put on a bad performance.
I mean, have you heard about his training for AJ, by the way? He used to do 4-minute rounds flat out, so that when he got in the ring, it's like, oh, you ain't gonna keep up with me, bro.
Yeah, also he's adapting to his heavyweight body now. Like every time I see him, he's more solid. He's not a cruiserweight now that's blowing up. He's like solid at this weight.
And you were talking about potential decline. it's arguable with Usyk because he's had to adapt his body. So naturally, I think what we do is if we're looking to say Fury, if we see his legs not quite as mobile, we instantly, because he's a heavyweight, you think it must be down to his age. The difference is with Usyk, he's had to gain weight. So naturally, his body's adapting to this new weight. So maybe little things that we've seen change within his style is simply him gaining size and maturing into this new weight division. But I do personally think we're seeing more improvements within the heavyweight division for him. Personally, I feel as if there's been, he fought Chisora, he looked like he was struggling in moments, but he's physically grown in strength and he's kind of adapted to this weight now. And I just think, personally, Fury is the guy who we're questioning more so than Usyk at this point in time.
And do you see what he did in the face-to-face?
Yeah.
He lifted him up. Usyk just had he had to know. He just wanted to say,
that's right.
Let me have you just want to check. You want to check. Just put a few hands on. Okay.
Temperature check.
All right, let me see.
And this is the difference with Usyk. He's so intelligent and smart. The way he goes about getting mind games, it isn't traditionally being the loudmouth, being that little Jack Russell in the room,
Right.
barking.
Yeah.
He does it in such an intelligent way. I mean, we're talking about a guy who during training, they do chess games, mathematical games. These guys have tested the brain in every way possible. Like, this guy's a super, super smart. So he doesn't take this approach like a lot of fighters, with trying to get given insults and all these other ways of kind of getting in the mind. He does it in such a high intellectual way that he basically put Fury, he had Fury thinking, what the hell have I got to do to get in your head? You're just laughing at us here.
To your point, if we were talking about raw talent, I think it's very comparable. The pair of these guys are world class, right?
Yeah.
But what we might see is like, you can cheat your lifestyle for so long, but eventually you come up against a super athlete who hasn't been cheating, who's been dedicated, determined. Like, that man has never done half the shit to his body that Tyson Fury has, and we might finally see Fury in a situation where he goes, "Fuck me," because you could argue if Fury had stayed the course from Klitschko and just stayed dedicated, we might now be looking at this fight in a totally different way. Well,
Absolutely.
we probably would be, in my opinion.
I think if he stayed with, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but if he stayed with his uncle, if he stayed with Peter Fury, I think at this point in time, Tyson Fury's legacy looks a lot different.
Completely.
I think with the opponents he's taken, and with a lot less ups and downs, a lot less of a roller coaster journey. Like, I actually think that he's gone through that. Because one of the other things as well is like the time out the ring, a lot of the time with Fury, different times with fighters, it can be they're tied up with a promotional company and there's different things going on in their life. With Fury, it was always down to his mental health, why he was in and out the ring. And I think having that set up there,
because we can.
But then
that's not even you.
Keep calling it.
He called it garden leave or sabbatical, bro. No, drugs.
This guy was on drugs for that fight before the Klitschko fight, and it's so mad to me that we don't really speak about it. I mean, not to obviously take you off your path, what you're saying, but I'm like, he could have easily been drugged up for the Klitschko performance.
I think it's a difficult scenario because I always compare to someone like Ricky Hatton. I think certain guys mentally can't do the course like a Floyd Mayweather, a Andre Ward. They can't live this disciplined life. With Fury, he's mental health. He can't,
I'm like that.
He can't stay in that lane of discipline. Early on in his career, he went and worked with Emmanuel Stewart. It's not that although he was with Peter Fury, he still went and trained with other guys. So I don't think mentally he can just stick in one path. He needs to keep everything fresh and new.
I've never seen a boxer, bro, who physically looks so different in so many fights in terms of his strength, his speed. It just varies so often.
You've heard it in with his wife talks about. He's a nightmare to live with. The guy's mental is up and down constantly, so he needs change to keep him occupied, to keep him motivated. So I don't think staying with Peter Fury. I agree with you in terms of mentally at that point in time it really did work. He's training everything, but I think mentally it wouldn't have kept him occupied. He needed something different. And you seen with Ricky Hatton, people often say if he had have been more disciplined, he stayed in the game a lot longer. But he was the type of guy mentally to get up for each fight. He needed to have that blowout. Enjoy
Tenerife was calling.
Tenerife, you know what I mean?
I went to Tenerife. He's photographed every fucking bar. He's like a legend out there.
Yeah, and I know a guy who goes out there who's good friends with me. He used to drink these pints of all sorts. The guy's a monster when it comes to drinking.
Can we get to the method of victory? Because we kind of did Tyson Fury. So you think he could stop him late? You think Fury can stop Usyk late?
Yeah.
That would be the...
I think I'm going to retract that. I think it's more of a points decision than a stoppage. I can't see if it's either late stoppage or points, but I can't see.
AJ shaking your head. What you saying?
I'm saying it has to be a stoppage, man. I'm saying it has to be a stoppage. If it gets to points, I believe that Usyk's the more superior boxer.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I've chopped and changed with this.
But the way it gets to points isn't always that way. Like, it can sometimes get to points because someone survived. So they could have been getting beat up and close to it. Well, all I'm saying, there's a lot of fights recently where I remember it going, well, it don't go to points, and if it goes to points, this person wins. Yeah. And actually, the way it plays out,
And what I did say earlier, Usyk looked quite tired against Joshua when he did step it on. He's had to take that break, like he had to have a little breather for a few rounds. So I do think Fury's capable of tiring him out, and I think that could play a part.
I think if it's a Fury win, it's like what 10th, 11th, like knock.
You agree, Travis?
Yeah, I do. He's going to have to stop him. He's definitely going to have to stop him, because I think if you got Usyk in there, 11 and 12, Usyk is going to get you. He's going to throw 1,000 punches, and I don't think Fury's going to be there on his feet and be loose and limber in round 11 and 12. So he definitely has to lean on him and just wear him down with just pure manhandling.
Because from my side, if this goes to a decision, I can't see a world in which Fury wins. I just think Usyk is a master of planning fights. Like he builds the fight in his head. He's like, I'm going to take the first 3, and then I'll see how I feel. If I have to give a round up, I will. Like against AJ, it was perfectly planned. Where you gone, I'll take first 3 or 4, give up 1, maybe take another 1, give up 1 or 2, take the rest. And by the time, literally, it's like 9-3, and he did the exact same thing to him the next fight. So it's genius the way once he sees the finish line, and that's where Fury really does have to get on him from the round 1, in my opinion. Like Fury has to make this a fight from round 1, because if you give him a glimpse of that finish line, he is going to run away with it.
It's right what you're saying there, because even when I was on GB years ago, one thing about the Ukraine camp, and we used to talk about Usyk and Lemchenko, we used to watch them, and one thing our coaches used to try and get us to do, because they had mastered like over 3 rounds, they would win the first 30 seconds to a minute of the round, they'd have a breather in the middle, and they knew how to catch the judge's eye at the end of each round. And this is something that these guys have been doing right from the amateur game, and obviously they've took this into the pros.
Love it.
They know how to manage a fight so well.
Fury doesn't think like that at all.
Oh, I don't think he does at all.
That's not how he plans a fight. For him, it's just, I'm trying to win.
Yeah,
he has got incredible boxing IQ.
Oh yeah,
the one, like even the common sense in that with Wilder. Just when to lie down, when to take a break, and we saw it in each of the fights. He knows, okay, this is the moment. Get up now.
Let's face it, both of these guys know how to win. Like they always find a way, and this is the difficult thing. This is why I've chopped and changed this. I think there's so many variables. They've got so many variables because we've got 2. You could argue they've both got boxing ability, because, you know, Fury was once known as predominantly a boxer. He was never a puncher, but they've got similar qualities, but stylistically, they're very different. The physicality, they're so different, but what they both got is they both know how to win. They both got winners mentality. They haven't been beaten in the pro ranks. So this is why I've chopped and changed so many times.
Do you know what I think is going to be the most surprising thing for Fury is Usyk's power.
Yeah.
Oh, because
that's funny you say that, because I actually think that if Usyk was to win this fight, I would edge towards it being a stoppage rather than a points decision, which most people are like, what? No, be Usyk on points. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but if I had to put my money on it out of the 2, and I don't think Usyk will win, but if he did win, I think it would more likely be an exhaustion stoppage.
Yeah, there was, like I said about round 8 against Ngannou, there was that moment where Ngannou was catching him, and I'm thinking, you know, Usyk in that moment would have landed double the punches minimum on you, and accurately. It wouldn't have been those clubbing, inaccurate punches that Ngannou was throwing. So, and another thing, like, that's where we'll really be tested. How much does Fury want it? Because with Wilder, when he would get dropped, Wilder had put so much into those punches that there was a breather coming, you know, and you could make it to the end of the round, recharge, and then go again. Whereas with Usyk, when you get back up, that pressure is going to be on you. So we're actually going to, and we might be saying what is a hell of a, I wouldn't be shocked if a Usyk put on a dominant ending to this fight where we're like, oh fuck, we thought these were close. Yeah. It's actually a big gap.
That's funny, because the ironic thing about this having a rematch is whatever way it does go, again, this is all hypothetical, but the way I would think about it, whatever way it does go, I don't think there'll be loads of clamour for a rematch, because I think if it goes in Usyk's favour, it will be fairly sort of decisive, and we'll go, oh, okay, we know how that one unfolds. And I think if it goes in Fury's favour, again, it will be fairly decisive, and we'll go, of course Fury's going to knock him out. He's so much bigger. A good big man beats a good little man. But I would say that if Fury wins it, my gut instinct would be Fuck the contract. No, fuck the contract. Moth.
Yeah.
Oh.
That'd be my gut instinct.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a bad gut instinct. I think he doesn't on a contract.
If it wasn't for Saudi money, I'd agree with you. But like, the Fury's greed might bring him back to the table. That would be, especially if he wins, like, nice little bit of cash in the bag. So final predictions, just for an early prediction. We might change it later. What are you saying?
Fury late stoppage.
What was that?
I'm gonna agree, even though I'd probably change if you ask us in half an hour.
I'm getting Usyk in it just because.
Do you believe that though?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be Usyk can win it on points. I would love to see him knock him out.
Travis?
I'm gonna say Usyk based on the Fury's previous performance and I don't trust that he's just gonna be able to just turn it around because of previous trends.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna say Usyk. And I've thought Usyk for a while, but that last performance was the nail in the coffin for me. I was like, I'd be shocked if you come back from a performance like that and then I'm going to take my hat off, even as much as I dislike the guy. Like, that would be amazing.